Hi, I'm Steve Savell, Director of Sustainability and Governmental Affairs for Bush Brothers and Company. We're the baked bean guys. The panel I was on today had a really great group of folks to be able to share stories with, and one of the things we talked about from Bush Brothers' standpoint are those areas of focus and those things that are really important to us. And we kind of identified for ourselves where we've got really three key initiatives, and they're really all focused in on waste and trying to ensure that we are not being wasteful. So it's waste around energy, making sure that we're not wasting that. Water, clearly water is critical for a canning operation, so that waste concern is there. And then there's just what you would consider food waste or anything that would end up in a landfill. Those are the things that we really try to focus in on, but some of it just kind of goes back to our core values of responsibility and trust and caring, and part of that gets into ensuring that we are taking care of the planet, taking care of ourselves, the longevity of our organization. So ideally, we just do not want to be wasteful with any of our assets. And so for us, it's really easy to think about it in those terms, because those are also operational areas that we want to focus, our attention to. Bush Brothers is solely dependent on the growing community. There's nothing that we put in a can that we can do without the folks that are actually in the field. And so it's really important for us to understand, what's going on. We have a touch place with where our retailers and where the consumers operate. And so we understand really what they need kind of in their homes and in their stores. And oftentimes they're telling us they need certain characteristics of the can or of the bean or the product, and there are things that we can do, as we produce and put our product in a can, but if we think about what really happens further upstream from us, it really all is in the field. And so it's critically important for us to have really strong relationships, and we value long-term, decades, kind of long relationships. We have some of these organizations that we've been, with for half century or more, and we just think that's really important for the consistency and the perpetuity of our business. But understanding what happens in the field, if it fails there, then it hurts us. If they succeed in the field, then we benefit from that too. So it's a true interaction. And even when I have the opportunity to walk the field, and I've been able to do that a few times in my Bush career, I always go back more inspired to think about what do we do differently or better at home to make sure that we leverage all of the great work that happens in the field. So without the grower, we're nothing. This is my first bean day. The first thing that you know, and I'm not telling anybody new here, it's just so darn cold. From somebody from the South, this is a challenge. I'm not sure I can put on enough clothes to do this, but this is an awesome part of the world. This is where all of our stuff starts, and so that's really important. And this is where all the folks that are doing all this hard work are at. So it's really important for us to be here with those folks. And much of this is about the connections, the networking, and the things that you learn, things that you didn't know that you needed to know. Then all of a sudden you get into conversations that are intentional. Then you also get into conversations just because you bumped into somebody and said, hey, what do you do? And the next thing you know, go, oh, wait a second, we got to talk later when we all get back home. So no, this is awesome. I wish that I had the foresight to have been here sooner. But here I am and have a great time. So I'm very grateful for these folks. I think the one thing, because I ask these questions, some of the conversations are what I consider very technical in nature. So they're very science driven, and in a lot of cases they go right over my head. And so when I ask the question, it's like, well, how does the audience respond and react to this? It's like, oh no, this is the kind of stuff these guys want to know. They're already asking, their extension agents and the folks in the university these questions. So this is critical to theirs understanding and how they run their operations. So again, I go back to the idea of like, okay, if this is important to them, this is important to me, how do I as a brand fit into this conversation? What do I need to be listening for differently, or what do I need to be paying attention to that maybe I haven't noticed before? Part of my job is governmental affairs means I get to talk to both, state and federal officials. So I get into, well, what can I contribute, or what can Bush Brothers contribute to these guys' opportunities and challenges that we can add that may be different than the rest of the group here. So it really is just all the new learnings that you get exposed to, and then in the new connections, and then you try to figure out where can you jump in to help. Frankly, that's really what makes anybody's work interesting. I have a technology background, so it was just by very nature the things that I needed to do to be good at that job required me to stay abreast of what was happening in the world around. This role is really no different. There are new things that we have to bring back and think through as we evolve as a brand, as a product, as people, as society changes, as new learnings. So there are things that are just relevant to make sure that you can continue to do a good job. But on a very personal level, it's just that the more that you learn, the more fun it is, the deeper you get into again, walking through a field is an experience that I don't get to do on a regular basis, but you learn something from that either you have a better story that you can tell at a family gathering, or you can just do your own job better. But I think it allows you to kind of pick up and improve those that are around you. So I think with that, if you're not growing, then you're dying, in my opinion. So the award I got today, and maybe I should have brought that with me, but you had the Friend of the Bean, and it's like, wow, that is so cool. I mean, first of all, it was just completely, unexpected when they said, well, hey, you're gonna hang around, we got this thing we need to hand out. It's like, oh, sure. And I was just thinking, well, it's a Bush Brothers kind of thing. I wasn't expecting, my own name to be on there. So I'm very grateful for that small, recognition, and it's certainly great to have friends, and so even the Friend of the Bean. So no, that's kind of a nice capstone, and especially for myself, I'm getting closer to retirement, and so that's kind of a really cool way, and I'm already thinking about places to hang that up at home. So yeah, and showing off to all my coworkers who didn't get that, but they too are Friends of the Bean. They just don't have the plaque.